Well, welcome to the channel. My name's Dr. Jason W. Morrison. I'm a theologist from New South Wales, Australia. I'm actually in a relationship with a Pitcairn Island descendant and North Oak Island descendant. And this is what's inspired me to do this video. We all know the history of Pitcairn. What happened was they mutinied off the Bounty and they went to this place to hide so that they wouldn't have to be accountable for what they'd done. When they were getting the grapefruits off the Bounty, because that's what the Bounty was sent to do, get grapefruits to take back to the English colonies and slave people so they could feed them cheap, which doesn't say much for the English, does it? But that all went skew-if because of the weather, and they were delayed, and goodness knows what. But in the meantime, the mutiny on the Bounty guys got in with the island girls on Tahiti, where they were at this joint. And because these people had a different approach to sex, and the culture of these women was much more submissive, probably 100 times more submissive than the English women, the English guys just took advantage to this. Of course it was attractive, and of course it suited them, because there was zero effort that needed to be put in to accommodate themselves with these ladies. Now, I'm not saying that can't turn into love, and I don't want to spoil it and wreck it and, humanize it. But at the same token, this was the beginning of the end of anything that was going to be rationale on that trip, because sex and everything changes the dynamic of what's happening. Now, from what we understand, or from what I know, and I'm not an expert, not claiming to be an expert, don't want to be an expert. I'm just talking because as a Westerner, I can see the nature of the Tahitian and Polynesian women in comparison to what the Western men are trying to deal with, and relative to the way in which this can be a massage to the soul and the spirit of a Western man trying to deal with Western women, when all of a sudden you've got this totally different culture that's just a massage on your soul and spirit to what you'd be used to, the driedness and coldness and programmedness of modern Western women. It's just absolutely horrible. And so way back when, you can see what's happened to these guys. I can see what's happened to these people that were tested in the ocean for all that time, and that'd drive anyone around the bend to get on land where they're accepted and able to be pleasured and build relationships with these women that are of a totally different planet and makeup of the women from which they were from, where they were from. Now, why would I be doing a video like this? I'll tell you why. Because I can just absolutely 100% see how this has all gone wrong. It's just totally gone wrong. When Bligh, who wasn't too bad of a bloke, right? He had his, obviously being the captain. Anybody that's a leader, you ask anyone that's a leader that's lonely at the top, and it's only a matter of time before they're going to try and knock you off. Let's not make no excuses for anybody, but if the captain's the captain, that's the way it goes, and if you're not prepared to follow, get fucking off. Get off. I know that as being a business owner. Look, I'll go so far with you, but if you're starting to try and change the direction of the way in which the boat's going, then get off. And one of the keys of leadership is to get the foxes out of the vine before they spoil the rest of it. But when you're stuck on a boat like Bligh was with these people that had now been spoiled on an island, right, psychologically and lustfully spoiled on an island, and probably exonerated and put on pedestals and whatnot to get back on that boat again, that was a big call for however long it was going to be. Now, because they left when they left England, they tried to go around the Cape, and it took 31 days and got them nowhere. And they turned back. When apparently Bligh said, well, we're going to go back, and we're going to go back around the Cape. Well, that was obviously that obviously broke the horse's back, and it was just going to be a matter of time before the objectors come to a place where they decided that it's time for Captain Bligh to go. Because he was obviously a determined man, and I think he wanted to get home as quickly as he could as well, but they weren't prepared to take the risk of the weather and the condition. It must have been horrific. Let's just stop for a minute and go, it must have been horrific, that 31 days going round the Cape there in those conditions, and getting 85 kilometres and having to turn back, surrender and turn back. Nobody would want it. Would you want to go through 31 days on a boat like that in absolute fucking ferocious, horrible conditions, getting nowhere? Nobody would want to do that. That's trauma. That's extraordinary trauma. In rough seas, people would be spewing and goodness knows what. The thing would be wanting to fall apart. There'd be stuff flying everywhere. You can't fathom it. Us modern people couldn't fathom something like that. We get on a cruise ship and start spewing up and complaining about the air conditioning and everything. Goodness knows what else. We're weak. We're bloody weak. And I tell you what, you've got to be an extraordinary person just to get to Pitcairn Island. It's not an easy voyage, and once you get there, you've got to be an extraordinary, exonerated person to get on the island. Apparently, we're not sure if it's 100% true, but me and the partner heard that only 48 people are allowed on there a year. I don't know how that adds up. I know 40 to 50, 48 around, could go, I don't know, something like, I don't know the exact figures, but it varies from 40 to 50, 55 people on the island at a time. So I don't know how, if you go there, only 48 people are allowed on. But apparently they go out and meet the people on the boats and sell their stuff and all the rest of it. And good luck to them for doing that. They can do that. None of that's a problem, I don't think. The problem is the way in which the sexual generosity of the Polynesian and Tahitian women went with the Western British, and they weren't all British, these mutineers either. Apparently there was a West Indian and an American in amongst that bunch. You can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but they weren't all English guys. There was a mixture of those guys as well. There was a couple of different nationalities in there as well, as far as I understand. Their blend of culture with the Polynesian and Tahitian women was just, it didn't work. It didn't work because it was so easy for these men that their descent in lust, right, the descent that comes with this kind of free and easy sexuality, as it were, without any restraint or any, of the stuff that a lot of these Western women bung on, was always going to lead them into a descent of liberty that went outside the bounds, if you can understand what I mean. And with this liberal sexual liberality, right, it's no different to fucking Woodstock and all the rest of it without the drugs, but in a more raw human instinctual way. It descended from easy going liberal sex with women to I've got the right to have sex with young children. That was the only way it was going to go. Now you might say, well, the Seventh-day Adventists got on there and they brought the Bible onto the whoever he was decided they were going to follow the Bible. Well, the damage being done by then. There were young children being molested for years and years before and probably it was out of desperation that this guy decided to do it because he was the only guy left. And given the fact that the women were beginning to justify the behaviour and hide the truth about what was going on there, he could have, for all we know, he's got the Bible out to protect himself from the fucking instincts of the women. Because women are hunters too, sexual predators as well. It's not just the men. And as a matter of fact, instinctively, women are more innate to be the hunter under the conditions of no sex, in terms of the span between, the longer the sex span is, the more the woman becomes a hunter rather than the man. This guy could have got the Bible out, for all we know, to protect himself from all the women as a shield. Like, for instance, women will use their children as a shield. Women will use their morals as a shield, but they'll soon throw their morals out when they're ready to have sex, if you know what I mean. So this guy could have got the Bible out to protect himself from all those women. We don't know. We don't know it was so out of order, right? You can look below the surface, right? And it's not a paradise. If you go to that place, it's not a paradise. It's a horrible place, arid place. And God bless the people that live there. If you choose to live there, good luck to you. But why wouldn't you? The English government sending an extraordinary millions and millions of dollars there. Who's getting that money? I'd like to know. Because looking at that picture on the screen, I can't see where all the money's gone. There's no farm equipment or anything like that. Absolutely not. There's a few fucking old buildings, and that's about it, which I could build myself for $1 million. Come on, where's all those tens of millions of dollars gone? Oh yeah, this gets deeper and deeper. I'm telling you, I'm blown away by how much these people have gotten away with that are on that island. And this man that got the mayor, I don't know who he was, some mayor, got busted for child sexual abuse, and he was just a deviant, horrible man, right? In 2004, 7 men living on Pitcairn Island faced 55 charges relating to sexual offences against children and young people. I mean, the place was out of control, absolutely out of control. And this had become a cultural way of living, right? This had become justified as if it wasn't wrong. And the accused represented a third of the island's male population, including Steve Christian, who was a politician, convicted sex offender and child rapist from the Pitcairn Islands. He was mayor of the islands from 1999 to 2004. When he was removed from office after being found guilty in the Pitcairn child sexual abuse trial. But the twist to this is the mayor that got caught with all the child pornography, right, is going to trial, or has been tried. I don't know. As I said, I'm not an expert. But this Steve Christian guy is one of the advisors to the judge that's running the case. He's a convicted sex offender and child rapist from the Pitcairn Islands. And he was kicked out because of his child sexual abuse. So who's the judge looking after the latest case of the mayor that was found with thousands of child pornography pictures on his computer? And so where did he get the power on the internet to download all that stuff? Well, I mean, the deeper you go into this, the more uncivilized it is. It's just uncivilized in comparison to how we live. But is it the culture where they live? I don't know. Not by English law. Not by the way in which we live. Have we got a right to push our opinions and ideologies and morals onto an island like that? The Seventh-day Adventists think they did a great job there. It didn't work. Because the man that brought the Bible out to protect himself from the women, all the women, isn't that funny? At one point, the women are protecting themselves from the men. I guarantee that man, what was his name? I wish the missus was here. She'd know. The man that somebody that's watching this would absolutely know, 100% know. He was this only surviving man when they found him on the island. He got that Bible out to back him off because they were culturalised to be sexual. You can't keep up with 10 or 18 women coming at you, and little children and goodness knows what. And not only that, there's always a handful of rebels in there that want you dead for what you've done. Put two and two together, guys. Honestly, nobody will ever know the absolute truth of that island. But there are ones that know what happened. Who was tampering with who that shouldn't have been. That's why I called it shit can, pit can. They've wasted millions and millions of dollars that should have been put into that island. You can't see a thing to show for it from the UK government. Who took that money? Is it a fair question? I bet you somebody's shitting themselves if they listen to this that knows what I'm talking about. And let me say, when that, my view is when Steve Christian got done for his child sexual abuse offences of abusing young people, young girls, and as far as we know, young girls and no boys. I don't know. You don't know with this lot. So out of control. I believe, just like the mutiny on the Bounty, the people on Pitcairn Island mutinied against this guy, Stephen Raymond Christian. I don't think he put his hand up and got in trouble for all on his own. I think there was a mutiny against him because by the nature of the place, the object is to be in mutiny. There's mutiny. The mutiny on the Bounty is the icing on the cake, not even the... Hang on. The mutiny on the Bounty is only skimming the surface to the mutiny that's been going on this island ever since. Because they would have known somebody was getting that money and that they weren't getting a fair cut. There would have been people, manipulating the money and manipulating the women. And it was, apparently this guy's missus was encouraging the sexual behaviour, if I got it right. I want comments on my channel. I want comments to know if what I'm saying is right. It's not rubbish. You know it's not rubbish. It's real. And another 6 men living abroad, including Sean Christian, right, who's a Pitcairnese politician, and he served as mayor on the Pitcairn Islands between 2014 and 2019. That's recent. He previously served in prison after being convicted of child rape. So don't think religion got on there and fixed anything. If anything, it probably would have made it worse, because if you don't get religion right, and I know because I'm an expert on it, it'll cause things to get even worse. That's why ministers and worship leaders and priests and all this thing become sexually immoral themselves. Because if you think you got to follow laws and rules to make God happy and stop him from being sad, and you tip and toe your life around that, you become more evil. But nobody wants to listen to that either, do they? So it was a total religious and sociological mess there. It would have been hell when that guy got out the Bible. You can see it. You can see what's happened. Look underneath the surface. If you're one man stuck on an island with 18 women that are sexed up, right, absolutely sexed up, what else are you going to do? You've only got one way of saving yourself, and that's we've got to follow the Bible now. Can you just see how it turned on them? Fools. So these trials, they were repeatedly punctuated by legal challenges from island residents who denied the island's colony status. They didn't want to say they were with England or anybody. I mean, these people were in a world of their own, doing whatever they wanted, despite objections. They were training and grooming these children, right, who weren't fully Polynesian and Tahitian, to maintain the Polynesian and Tahitian way of sex. But the sad part about that was there was always that element of Westerner in them. And that was the part that was going, no, this just ain't right. Can you see what was going on? And so the mutinies continued against the behaviour of these men. But they tried to shut them down. They tried to keep them quiet, and that's why they keep people away from the place, because they don't want people to know. It's a part of their way of life. It's a part of their lust. It's a part of their pleasure. It's a way in which they pleasure themselves and get peace, and that's their way of what's it called? That's their way of fulfilling themselves. It's not making baskets and all that stuff. It's their sexual immorality. And when you think about it, these people got off light compared to other pedophiles. So, the island residents, they denied the island's colony status, and with it the United Kingdom's judicial authority. But why the United Kingdom gave into that, I'll never know. That defence lawyers for the seven accused men claimed the British sovereignty over the islands was unconstitutional. Well, it wasn't unconstitutional when the millions were coming in, was it? Oh no, we'll take the money, we'll take the millions. Can you see how scandalous this is? Where did that money go? Look at the picture. Where did it go? Come on. Nobody's ever going to know. It's like, I can't say, but it's like what's happened recently with disease and things. Where did the money go? We know where it goes. Somebody on that island, or several people on that island, are rich. Don't worry about that. Why do you think they're going backward and forward from New Zealand and Australia and everywhere else? Who's paying for that? Not their baskets. Not the things they're selling to the boats. The HMAS Bounty mutineers, from whom almost all the current island population is descended, together with the Polynesians. See, you had the Western and the Polynesian crossover, and it's the Western crossover, along with Polynesian integrity, that keeps bringing this place undone. They're not going to have it. They'd effectively renounced the British citizenship by committing a capital offence in the burning of the Bounty in 1790. They reckoned by the burning of the Bounty, that was their way of saying we're not a part of England anymore. Well, what did they burn it for? They burnt the Bounty so they wouldn't get found. And the people on the island are burning all their, this is like a lot of the cults, they burn all their evidence and everything before the authorities can get to them. Who do you think taught these people to do this? The mutiny on the Bounty guys. Oh, let's just burn the Bounty. Let's just fucking burn it. And then we're responsible for nothing. And this is one of the things with religion. Religious confidentiality. The priests reckon they shouldn't dob in sex pedophiles. That's why I'm onto this. Oh yeah, you dob them in, mate. Your religious position's no reason for you to hide crime. But they do. And it's rampant. Take the Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, of whom I'm just about an expert on. 1,000 cases of child pedophilia in Australia, and they weren't going to share all that. And it's disgraceful. Do you think this island's any different? These people are actually grooming these children from as young as 8 years old to have sex with men, grown men. Can you imagine that? They ought to be hung, don't you think? Or am I being too hard for the lefties and the woke people? The burning of the Bounty set a precedent for all following people to take pride in hiding accountability and responsibility. And yet they've made some kind of heroic, look at me, I'm a Pitcairn Islander persona out of the people that are choosing to be there. I listened to some guy the other day, and they're saying they want people to live there, and it's $500 to put in the application, non-refundable, whether you go there or not. And one person's moved there out of who knows how many. Only they know, and we'll never know. They could have made millions and are making millions out of that. We don't know. You'll never know, because the Bounty got burnt, so that justifies everything else to do with accountability and responsibility to be burnt. Oh, why are you so upset about this? I'm not upset about it. Let's talk about Pitcairn Island, honestly. They've been pedestalised, and come on. Are the fucking pedophiles in the streets and things around your place being pedestalized? Oh, shit, no. Come on. Paul Dacker, who was appointed in 2003 as the Islanders still celebrated to this act annually by burning an effigy of the bounty and a symbolic rejection of British rule. So every year they have a celebration, and I've seen this, of burning the bounty. Some bloke went over there and they let him light it. Oh, join the club of no responsibility and no accountability. There's a video on here of how he was allowed to light the thing for the year. Let's all join in the club of no accountability and responsibility, which is the beginning of the end of any civilization. There's been a couple of times where nobody could live on the island. It became so bad. And it's not a paradise. It's not. You're kidding yourself. They're only staying there for the money, the free money and the free land. No taxes. Don't worry, they're all in on it. They have to be, or the coppers would be there weeding out the ones that are being corrupt. If you did an audit on where the money's gone, there'd be people in jail for life, if not hung. And so the defence maintained that the UK never made a formal claim to Pitland and never officially informed the islanders of British legislation, such as the Sexual Offences Act, as if they didn't know. Oh, but they take the millions of dollars as if they didn't know. Come on. Is this some kind of a joke? So that's my spin on it. The Western UK English guys were given sex so freely and so easily, right? By culture, by way of the culture of the Polynesian and Tahitian women, that they lost their way, and they continued to lose their way because it was too free and easy. The Polynesian men and Tahitian men had a different approach to all these things. It was part of their culture. They didn't need to find all these things you see on YouTube about how to get sex and how to navigate women and all that. That wasn't. No, it was more natural and instinctive. But as soon as these guys from England come into this dimension and gone, oh, this is unbelievable, it was never going to work for them because they weren't culturalized to be able to handle it. They didn't have, the Tahitians and Polynesians didn't have the rules and restraints of the English people. They were never going to make it, ever, in a million years, because the blend was conflictive. And that's why it turned into abuse, because it wasn't done under the culture of the Polynesian and Tahitian people, which was by spirit and by nature. Oh yeah, you can say, oh, they loved them and all that. I'm sure they did, but with a different spirit. And that's, to me, why it didn't work. And that filtered through to everything then. Then they've got the free money and they learned how to get money for nothing and all that stuff, and they still do to this day. Where's that money going? I'm going to challenge the listeners. Where are the millions of dollars? Where have they gone? Where is it going? I can't see anywhere on that picture that would justify anything of the sort. And if that looks like a paradise on earth to you, you've lost it. You've lost the plot. So that's my take on Pitcairn Island. I've seen the legacy of the sexual abuse that has gone into so many families from these generations. I don't think anyone's not scarred from it, not damaged from it, and to think that it's allowed to continue. They took island custom cultures. They took their cultures and customs that were orderly for those people, the way that they lived. Right? They weren't abusing each other. It was just their culture. And the Westerners got a hold of it, and it was so free and easy and so pleasurable to what they were compared with, they were never going to be able to cope. It was like drinking too much. And they mixed it with drink. They were drunks and goodness knows what. Can you imagine the Polynesian women? These guys didn't even have to have their mind. Western women don't tolerate drunks for good reason. It's not healthy for them. So you can see the demise of it all. Well, I've gone on for half an hour. That'll do me on, as far as I'm concerned. Shit can, pit can. Shut it down. Make these people responsible. Don't give them any more money. Don't encourage them any more than what it's been. There's nothing reputable that's come off that island except the pedestalisation of pedophiles, crooks and thieves. And I'm sorry, people on the island, if that don't suit you, stop and have a look at yourselves. The whole world's watching you. I didn't want to get caught up in this video. I couldn't care less about Pitcairn fucking Island. But the more I go into it, the more I'm concerned about the people that have got no hope except to be conditioned to the way in which you people think you can live. And looking at yous on videos, I'm sorry, but there's not a healthy one amongst yous. I'm sorry. Somebody, it's just been allowed to go on for too long. So this is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. That's my video. Shit can, pit can. Bye for now.